stunning capital of Prague. Ayagura has his eye on a first medal from a sensational first pole with the sprint next live. It's time for MotoGP. What a Grand Prix venue, what a circuit. The Automotodrome Brno, just about 15 kilometres outside of Czechia's second city, 5.4 kilometres, 3.36 miles in length, and this one's an absolute corker. What a layout, spectacular undulation, hard braking, fast change of direction, turn 3, the most severe braking zone on this circuit. You weave your way into the stadium section through 6, 7, 8 and 9, all good overtaking opportunities before you power up Horsepower Hill on the brakes into turn 13 before the short run to the finish line out of turn 14. What about our overtaking hotspots? Well, as mentioned, there are plenty of them. One of the favourite ones is down into turn 3. This is Marquez on his way to a double win over Marco Bezzecchi last July. Well, what, 13 days ago over at the Balaton Park circuit in Hungary, Marc Marquez flying away from pole position, but there was drama and controversy at the very first corner as Jorge Martin skittled out. A Aprilia teammate and world champion Marco Bezzecchi, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Fermin Aldeguer and Ralph Fernandez all caught up in that first corner drama. We were then treated to some show, some fight between two of MotoGP's ultimate prize fighters as Pedro Acosta and Marc Marquez went toe-to-toe before Marc Marquez dropped the KTM star and blasted his way to yet another double victory in Balaton. Back-to-back doubles in the Grand Prix of Hungary for number 93. What a day, what a comeback once again it was by the reigning world champion as he came over the line to capture his first Grand Prix victory of 2026. The defence of his championship well and truly up and running. Serious momentum gained by the 93 over in Hungary, and to boot, it was his 100th Grand Prix success. On the same occasion, that his victory secured a 100th victory as well for the factory Ducati team. If Marc Marquez is to make it successive doubles in 2026 and successive doubles here in the Grand Prix of Czechia, well, he's going to have to do the hard way. The world champion starting on the middle of the second row in 5th place because all the headlines this morning in a sensational start to Sprint Saturday in our second qualifying session. The rising star from the land of the rising sun, Trackhouse of Aprilia's Ayagura, the Japanese rider, 2024 MotoGP and Moto2 world champion. He carved up the record books just as he carved up this 5.4 kilometre Brno circuit this morning in a remarkable record-breaking Q2. Ayagura then on pole position for the first time in his MotoGP career on the front row of the grid for the very first time, and he is a massive favourite going into this afternoon's 10-lap Tissot sprint. Nobody within 0.2 of a second of the flying Agura. Two Italians join him on the front row of the grid, Fabio Di Gianantonio and Pecco Bagnaia. And Ayagura, only the 10th Japanese rider in MotoGP history to find himself on pole position. The first in almost 6 years. This Taki Nakagami did so in Aragon. And the 19th pole position in MotoGP history for riders from Japan. Tadayuki Okada has the most on 7. But Ayagura was in sparkling form this morning to date what was just his 7th ever pole position in his Grand Prix career, and this is his 138th start. World champion Marco Bezzecchi heads row 2 in 4th place. Alongside him are Marc Marquez and Diogo Moreira. Moreira shining once again as the top Honda. So much to look forward to then in this upcoming Tissot sprint, which will be underway in 25 minutes time in the company of Matt Burt, Lewis Sillaby in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in the blazing heat of pit lane. Lewis, well, there is no question about it. There were several star performances in Q2 this morning, but nobody shone brighter than this young man, Ayagura, with a show-stopping all-time lap record, his maiden pole position.
Pole by 0.2 of a second, having already topped practice on Friday. Didn't surprise anybody, really, did it? The way he took pole position this morning, even if it was the first pole, the first front row even of Ayagura's Grand Prix career. Normally, he saves his best for the business end of the race on Sunday and the sprint on the Saturday. If that still proves to be the case, the field have got a massive problem.
Ayagura has never been on a sprint podium. Top 5 in 6 Grand Prix, or 6 of the last 8 Grand Prix, 4th in the last 2. Can he tomorrow end Japan's long, barren run without a Grand Prix success? Makoto Tamada back in 2004. Now, this is news that broke in the lunch break. It was always a heroic effort for Alex Marquez to return here this weekend in this Grand Prix of Czechia after his horrific accident in Catalonia a few weeks ago. But after consulting with the Gresini team and MotoGP lead medic Dr. Angel Chartra, Alex, who was due to start the action here, the race action, in 14th place, has probably wisely taken the decision to withdraw from the remainder of this Czech Grand Prix. No confirmation from Alex or the Gresini team about whether he'll be a participant in next weekend's Grand Prix of the Netherlands at the TT circuit Assen, but he's resting up, of course, recovering from a neck fracture and 4 fractures in his right shoulder. A shame for Alex, because when he was out on circuit, boy, was he super fast. A 152.086 had got him 14th place on the grid, but he has withdrawn. We wish Alex a continued speedy and rapid recovery.
Yeah, get well soon, Alex, and I guess thinking long term rather than short term, given that he was fighting for the odd point or two this weekend. Really, that wasn't the target for him this weekend. We saw Marco Vezzecchi on screen there a moment ago. He's going from the front of the second row. The hottest conditions of the weekend here at Brno. What impact will that have on tyre choice for the Tissot sprint? Let's head down to the first lap to the pit lane and join Jack.
Yeah, good afternoon to everybody. This is going to be a really interesting duel before the race, and then obviously once the lights go out as well. Everybody is just playing a little bit of cat and mouse with each other at the moment when it comes to rear tyre choice. 34 degrees, the current ambient temperature. Michelin telling me the current track temperature 57 degrees and only going upwards as well. One thing to bear in mind, Marc Marquez, winner of last year's sprint, was able to do it with the medium rear tyre. However, the Ducatis, the KTMs all feel that the Aprilias potentially just have a step on them at this current moment. As a result, will they roll the dice and go for the soft to try and sneak some kind of advantage in those early crucial laps, and the Aprilias go for the mediums, or could we see it the other way around? At the moment it looks like Ducati's edging towards the soft, the Aprilia is edging towards the medium, but Davide Brivio just confirming to me we want to wait until we get onto the grid to see what the real game plan is going to be for everybody. There's going to be a little bit of cat and mouse, as we said, being played out on the grid before it's lights out here. One that we need to pay close attention to. It's going to have a huge impact on the race.
Good stuff, as always. Thanks very much, Jack. We know we'll be all over the tyre selections down there on the grid. We caught a quick glimpse there of VR46 Ducati rider Fabio Di Gianantonio with the boss looking on. 30 years since Valentino Rossi won his first Grand Prix in the Czech 125cc battle all the way back in 1996. He won another 114 Grand Prix after that on his way to one of the most decorated Grand Prix careers we've ever seen. Fabio Di Gianantonio back on the front row of the grid for the first time in 5 rounds since his 3rd place at the Circuito de Jerez. Angel Nieto, Pecco Bagnaia, the only rider that scored points in all sprints so far this season. And what about Marc Marquez? Can he launch himself to another victory double here in Brno? Middle of the second row is the world champ in 5th.
Well, nobody has more sprint wins this year than Marc Marquez. Only Jorge Martinez has many sprint wins in history as Marc Marquez. So maybe today, given that physically at least it's going to be half the distance, maybe that's going to be his opportunity. One of the other stars of qualifying, we had the star of Asia in Ayagura, the star of South America in the form of Diogo Moreira, who at one point was on course for a first front row start in MotoGP, was just nudged to the back of the second row in 6th. But what a feeling it must be, and what an education it will be. Not that he needs much educating at the moment, Diogo Moreira, but on that second row alongside the World Championship leader and the reigning world champion.
The 22-year-old is a young man in a hurry, and he's going places in a hurry. Once again, top Honda on the grid is Moreira, directly in a Q2 in the last 3 Grand Prix. Best qualifying for a Brazilian in MotoGP since Alex Barros was 5th at Phillip Island all the way back in 2007. What can Moreira do then from the back of that second row. Some of the other heavyweights for HRC. Joan Mir was at the back end of this morning's Q2 for Honda HRC Castrol. He goes from 12th. Luca Marini launching away from 16th place. Third time in the last 4 Grand Prix that Marini, sorry, is qualified in 16th. Of course, he will be bumped up the grid because of Alex Marquez's absence. Everybody behind Alex Marquez, which includes Quartararo, Marini, Bastianini, Miller, Rins, Binder, Razgatlioglu and Cal Crutchlow all moving up.
Yeah, Topo Razgatlioglu did receive a 3-place grid penalty earlier on today for getting in the way of Enea Bastianini in qualifying 1, but that takes effect tomorrow. Likewise, in case you're wondering, Jorge Martin's double long lap penalty, that does not apply today. That applies in the Grand Prix tomorrow. Martin, of course, who goes from 10th on the grid, is penalty-free today.
Well, recently in Mugello, on what was an unforgettable weekend for Aprilia as they locked out the front row of the grid, Trackhouse Aprilia's Ralph Fernandez became the 11th different sprint winner. Are we going to get a dozen different winners in the shape of that young man, number 79, Ayagura? Can he be the 6th sprint winner for Aprilia? Of course, previously, Aleix Espargaro, Maverick Vinales, Marco Bezzecchi, Jorge Martin and Ralph Fernandez have collected sprint wins on top of the factory RSGP. Is there going to be a gold medal on a golden eye performance potentially for the Japanese rider? I mean, he's going to be the massive favourite, particularly in the Grand Prix tomorrow. I mean, we know one massive strength, one big weapon in his arsenal for Agura is his late race pace, particularly over full race distances. If he can get the start, Lewis, and get away with that lead group, well, he's going to take some beating, particularly from what we've seen on Friday and so far here on Sprint Saturday. Yeah,
and he's often been super strong in that first sector as well, as Ayagura so far this weekend. He has the fastest starting motorcycle on the grid, we firmly believe, with the Aprilia, which with its ride height device sits so low when it leaves the grid. It's an absolute rocket ship when it leaves the grid, and the next Aprilia behind him on the grid is Marco Bezzecchi in 4th place, who hasn't exactly shone in the sprints so far this season. But it is a new experience for Ayagura. Very little seems to faze him. Even when he took pole position earlier on today, there was very little body language, was there, to suggest that he was overly joyed with what had happened. But that is just Ayagura in a nutshell. He is not the most demonstrative of characters, but even he must surely be feeling a few butterflies right now as he pulls onto pole position for the first time.
Last time he was on pole position, he had a pretty good day, a very good day, because it was in Brno in 2024 when he was crowned Moto2 world champion. We just saw there Pecco Bagnaia, the 29-year-old Italian, locking onto the front row for the factory Ducati team. Only a second front row start in the first 9 rounds for the double MotoGP world champion. He does have 3 sprint podiums so far this year, does Bagnaia. All second places on that run through Kota, Jerez and Le Mans. Can he go one better here this afternoon? A major obstacle in the way will be provided by this young man, Ayagura, who doesn't seem to get flustered or fazed by any situation or any scenario that you throw his way. But this is a very different experience. First time since Taka Nakagami, who is here this weekend as a trackside observer. He'll be riding this Brno circuit on Monday on the new Honda 850. He was the last time a Japanese rider found himself heading a grid at the Teruel Grand Prix in Aragon back in 2020.
Fabio Giannantonio starting from 2nd then. Of course, as far as sprints are concerned, it's also Fabio Giannantonio who's eyeing a first sprint win, much like Ayagura as they start 1st and 2nd on the grid. We're on board now with the World Championship leader, Marco Bezzecchi, who, yes, of course, he wants the gold medal today. He wants the big 12 points with the sprint, but surely he'll be mindful that Jorge Martin is back in 10th place on the grid and has a double long lap penalty to serve in tomorrow's full-length Grand Prix. So just some solid points, I think, will be the order of the day here for Marco Bezzecchi to extend that World Championship lead.
Yeah, Martin's got horsepower hill to climb here in Brno. He's got a bit of a mountain to climb, hasn't he, in the main Grand Prix tomorrow. 4th row of the grid, his worst qualifying of the campaign so far, and then throwing a double long lap as well after his controversial clattering into multiple riders in Hungary. A last-minute pep talk then from the boss, Valentino Rossi, having a little discussion there with Pecco Bagnaia, who's on the front row of the grid for just the 2nd time this season.
And here is the grid. It's Agura, Di Gianantonio and Bagnaia on the front row. Initial information is that they're all on the soft rear tyre. We will see if that changes. Second row, we find Bezzecchi, Marc Marquez and Diogo Moreira. The first rider on the medium rear, as are Raul Fernandez and Pedro Acosta. Frankie Morbidelli, he starts 9th on the second of the R46 Ducatis. Martin on the medium rear from 10th, ahead of Aldeguer and Mir. Maverick Vinales, Fabio Quartararo and Luca Marini are together on the 5th row. Vinales, another rider on the medium rear. So to his teammate Bastianini from 16th, ahead of Jack Miller and Alex Rins. Brad Binder on the medium from 19th, ahead of Toprak and Cal Crutchlow, who of course completes our grid of 21, with Alex Marquez having withdrawn.
Yeah, unfortunately no Alex Marquez for the remainder of this Czech Grand Prix. Let's go and get the thoughts of the Gresini team manager, Michele Massini, who's with Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Gresini racing down to just the one rider for the remainder of the weekend. Before we touch on Firmin's chances in this sprint, Michele, just bring us up to speed on how Alex is and the decision to withdraw from the remainder of the weekend.
Yeah, I think that Alex, together with us and all the medical staff of MotoGP Group, will take the right decision, the smartest decision possible, in order to just to keep the process of his recovery, because it's true that it's more painful compared yesterday, but he was able to ride a bike, he was already faster, so I'm really proud of that. I'm already proud that he came here in Brno over our expectative, I have to say, and really happy about overall all the weekend so far until now. And I think that the next step will be to fly to Assen, and we will see.
And on Firmin, we're here on the middle of the 4th row of the grids. Not the qualifying he would have hoped for after a great job yesterday afternoon, but we know how strong he is at the end of races. In this temperature, could that be a skill that's really quite important?
Yeah, not the qualify we wanted, but also because yesterday and today, this morning, we shown a good pace. But I think that the starter for the 4th row, we have to play the all-in with the rear soft tire, in order to try to overtake much rider as possible, and we'll see.
Thanks, Michele.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Michele Massini. Gresini Bosch, it was a heroic effort, wasn't it? Just for Alex Marquez to turn up and pass his fitness test here yesterday. Qualifying in 14th place, but he has withdrawn. Well, we know he's cool as a cucumber, isn't he? He's coming up for 10 p.m. in the evening on Saturday night over in Japan, of course, his homeland. He looks like he's about ready for bed himself, doesn't he? In the Trackhouse garage. Keeping himself in the shade, fully relaxed, as Marco Bezzecchi on the 2nd row gets a bit of a jump scare from the boss as well.
Yeah, he looks almost bored, didn't he, in the box there? So can we just get a sprint underway, please, says Ayagura. I've got a gold medal to collect potentially in 10 laps time. We shall see if that proves to be the case. Here's one of the riders certainly looking to stop him. We also saw Pecco Bagnaia having a bit of a chat with mentor and of course, Academy owner Valentino Rossi, legendary 7 times MotoGP world champion, and as Matt mentioned, the journey to Grand Prix greatness began here 30 years ago. And of course, he'll be very much cheering on his proteges from the academy, and of course his 2 team participants, Di Gianantonio and Morbidelli, who start 2nd and 9th.
Pedro Acosta has been superb. He has been supreme, hasn't he, so far this year for KTM, but there's still a bit of inconsistency hovering around the factory KTM. Double podium in Thailand, and then nowhere near the podium fight in Brazil. Unlucky not to have a double podium in America after the tyre pressure penalty in the sprint. I mean, he was pretty anonymous, wasn't he, in Jerez? Really, really strong in Catalonia. Went missing from the podium fight in Mugello, and then a double podium last time out in Balaton, but it's been tough once again. Bit of a roller coaster yo-yo form for Acosta. He goes from the middle of that 3rd row in 8th place.
Led the sprint last year, albeit in slightly farcical circumstances, did Pedro Acosta. Hopefully we see a slightly different sprint to that, as dramatic as it was 1 year ago. And here's Raul Fernandez then, who starts from 7th on the grid, which is by no means a bad qualifying, but of course very much put in the shade by his teammate Ayagura early on today. So one factory Aprilia starts on row 2, the other on row 4. What are their chances? Paolo Bonoro's with Jack.
Yeah, and their chances, I imagine, come down a lot to rear tyre choice. I've just seen Marco still in conversation with his crew chief and some of the members of the Aprilia technical staff. Has a decision been made on rear tyre, and how crucial do you think that call is going to be?
It is the key point probably for the race. For the tomorrow, there is no doubt, absolutely, on the medium on the rear. But even for the short race, it's necessary to take care of the rear tire. To manage the temperature, not not the drop, but the temperature. So, as you correctly said, we are currently talking. The rider needs to have the best choice, but both of them need to manage, absolutely.
Looking for Marco, it seems as though it's the man in front of him, Ayagura, is the man to beat here.
Absolutely, they did. He did an unbelievable lap time, so congrats to I, absolutely. But also Marco show with the medium tire on the rear, and also with the soft one, good race pace. He can manage the pace. The goal for him is to score the most of points that he can. And okay, if he has the opportunity to try to win, to be in the front, he will try for sure. But I think he's smart enough to understand that the championship is so long, it's necessary to achieve the best position as possible.
Thanks, Paolo. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, as always, to Aprilia boss Paolo Bonora. Yeah, if Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin don't win this sprint, well, the next best thing is another Aprilia rider doing so. Will that be the case for Ayagura? Here is Marc Marquez then coming to 5th place on the grid. 151.436, the best lap time that Marc has ever produced around this Brno circuit. Ordinarily, that would have been good enough to fight for pole position, but it was an extraordinary lap from Ayagura, which shook up the field and shook up the regular order in Q2 this morning. We just saw there, down on the grid, Sir Mark Cavendish, Tour de France sprint legend, who at the end of this Tissot sprint will have the pleasure of waving the checkered flag. We know where Cav's allegiances will be lying this weekend. He's very, very close pals, of course, with Cal Crutchlow, who once again is standing in for the absent Johan Zarco, and will do so also at next weekend's Dutch Grand Prix. And I think we're going to see Cal for a good number of races with Johan Zarco. We know he's a long-term absentee for LCR Honda.
Yeah, that's quite a view, isn't it, over this Brno circuit as the helicopters fly overhead. What a beautiful circuit this is. I think there was not a single person in this paddock who wasn't absolutely thrilled when we confirmed we were returning here to Brno last year following the resurfacing of this circuit. It's a popular one with the fans, and it's a popular one with the riders too.
So Ducati, the factory Ducati team, with big prospects, big hopes for both their riders on the first 2 rows of grid. Banaya 3rd, Marc Marquez 5th. Let's get the thoughts from Davide Tardozzi.
Yeah, we could see Marc's face after qualifying earlier. There was clear frustration there. Is an angry Marc Marquez a dangerous Marc Marquez, Davide?
No, I guess that Marc is using the head. As I always said, he's still not 100% on the body side, on the body health. So I think that he's managing. Yeah, it's true that he won the last 2 races in Hungary, but here it will be much more difficult, and collecting points is the main issue.
Rear tyre, it looks as though Aprilia leaning medium, Ducati leaning soft. Is that true? What's the thinking behind that decision?
I think that the first row could be, I guess, in soft, maybe Bezzecchi medium, but we don't know. But I guess that both tires are very competitive. I think that depends from the strategy and the feeling of the rider.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Thanks to Davide Tardozzi. The factory Ducati team, their current lineup has 31 sprint wins between them, so they know how to get the job done on sprint Saturdays. As our cameras go into the packed hillsides here, there's going to be a lot of after sun required at the end of this Grand Prix of Czechia. Come Sunday afternoon tomorrow, it is scorching hot. Some of the hottest conditions we've had so far in 2026. Joan Mir then, getting himself into Q2 yesterday, despite a late practice crash at turn 7. He goes from 12th on the grid, back at that 4th row. But what a day so far has been for Trackhouse Aprilia. Ayagura on pole position for the first time. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Davide Brivio, with Jack.
Yeah, and we grabbed Davide just after his last words in the ear of Ayagura. I saw a big smile and a laugh on your face. What were those final words then, Davide?
I just say, enjoy the start. Nobody enjoy the view from the start. So, yeah, no, just... he knows, I mean, he doesn't need my word, I mean, he knows what to do. But also, I'm quite curious and interested to see how he can manage on this situation. First time in pole position. Let's see how he can start. if he's end up to be in a good position in a race, how he managed from there. So it's an interesting day from this point of view, part of the journey, part of the learning process. So yeah, curious to see.
Often we see young riders, when they lead MotoGP races for the first time, start from pole position for the first time. The pressure can often get too much, but looking at I, doesn't seem like it's affecting him.
Yeah, but also you have to learn, you know, how to manage this situation. There are riders that's often in front and won many races, so they're much more used to that. Of course, he has done in Moto2, he has done in a previous championship, but never in the MotoGP. So it's interesting also for us to see how he managed, and it's an important step in this as I say, learning process. So good day, good opportunity to learn.
Absolutely. Good luck, Davide.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Trackhouse boss Davide Brivio. It has already been a stunning sprint Saturday for Iagura. Can it be a sensational sprint Saturday for Iagura? Talking about his experience of being a front runner in the MotoGP World Championship. The last time Iagura led a lap of any shape or form at Grand Prix level was in front of his home crowd on his way to the Moto2 World Championship at Motegi back in 2024. He'll be certainly looking to do some of the front running in this 10-lap sprint coming your way very, very shortly. What a moment this is, though. Such a proud moment for Iagura.
He's changed rear tyre by the looks of it. He's gone across to the medium rear. Is that a sign of confidence from Iagura, or is that just simply the right strategy?
Well, track temperature is well in excess of 50 degrees. A good chance also to get some data ahead of tomorrow. There's another change as well, isn't there, for Marco Bezzecchi too. So, yes, some dramatic... Well, we heard from Brno, didn't we? The Aprilias were playing it cagey. They were keeping their cards close to their chest in terms of that Michelin rubber choice.
We'll see what the Ducatis do. Of course, they have left it late, so Ducati haven't got an opportunity to respond to that. If they have just learned that for the very first time, as we have, maybe for Ducati, maybe their best shot is to go aggressive, go for the soft, and try and get up the road from the Aprilias if they take a little bit of time to get up to speed on the medium rear. Let's see.
Powering away then from the front of the grid is the BMW safety car shortly. Powering away from the front row of the grid will be Iagura on pole for the first time. Fabio Di Gianantonio and Pecco Bagnaia, certainly no strangers to leading at this level in the MotoGP World Championship. What, though, right now is going through the mind of Iagura? Here is then your front row for the Grand Prix of Czechia, round 9 of 22 in the 2026 MotoGP World Championship. There's some issue there with Pecco Bagnaia. One of his crews was calling over one of the IRTA staff, but on pole position then for the first time in his MotoGP career, the first Japanese rider on pole position in nearly 6 years, fighting for the gold medal. It's Iagura on pole here in Brno. It's time to do battle in Brno in the 10-lap Tissot sprint. It's time for Iagura to potentially be victorious for the first time in the MotoGP World Championship. He will fire away from pole position, and he has been the rider to beat so far here in the Grand Prix of Czechia. An all-time lap record blasted Agura to top spots in Friday's practice, and this morning he went even quicker. He almost pulled off the unthinkable. He almost pulled